Okay.
Hi, everybody. Pen here with Yogacises. I'm excited to have Avani Gilbert here today. She teaches in Costa Rica, and we met in a yoga teacher community group on Facebook. It's great that I'm meeting all these yoga teachers on Facebook, and I'm like, I gotta interview all these people. They have really great stories to share. And so today we have Avana, just like the last interview. I haven't posted yet, I will, but they both do yoga and Reiki. And so let's get started. And thank you
Yeah.
for being on.
Great. Thank you, Pam. Thank you so much for having me on. And I'm happy to share with everybody a little bit about my yoga and Reiki journey. And good evening. So as Pam said, I'm in Costa Rica. So we're like having a pretty big time difference right now. I think it's evening for you and it's pretty early morning for me. I just had a yoga practice. So I'm really glad we were able to connect to do this.
It's actually like almost noon here, so it's really not that much of a difference. That's good.
Okay. Okay, great. Oh, you're Eastern Standard Time. Okay, great. Great.
So let's start with your story of why you chose yoga or Reiki first, and then what from there.
Yeah, sure. So when I first started practicing yoga as a teenager, and it was in a time where it really wasn't still or it wasn't yet so popular, so well known. So I was really doing it by myself. I was doing it by myself in my room. I was like hiding my yoga. My friends kind of thought it was weird. And I remember in college, like when my roommate would walk into the dorm room, I would put my stuff away really quick and just pretend that I was sitting on the floor studying or something instead of doing yoga. So it was kind of a funny start. I didn't have many places to go. There weren't studios around. I grew up in rural Maine. So even still today in 2019, it's difficult to find many yoga studios in that area. So a lot was like I did good old Shiva Ray VHS tapes and learned with books and all of that, and eventually decided to continue studying, do training. But I started kind of as a recluse yogi, and I didn't have much of a community around it because not many people were practicing. But it got me, like it does with so many people, and I just got completely addicted to the lifestyle aspect of it. I noticed how it helped me. I initially was doing competitive sports in high school, so I noticed how it really helped my mind relax. I also had a lot of trouble sleeping in high school. I had a really busy mind, and it helped me sleep better. It helped me be more focused when I was playing sports. It improved my resiliency, my bounce back after injury, and all of these wonderful things, why we love yoga so much. So and then it got me, and here I am today, and it's my career, it's my life, it's what I share with the world, it's what I love. And that all started probably almost 20 years ago now, and I'm still at it. Yeah.
Amazing. And I'm so glad that yoga has helped you with all those like sleeping and with a just busy mind, and that has helped me too, because I've always I
Yes.
can totally get it.
Such a help.
So, yeah. How has that helped with your students or your clients, or during the times that you've been teaching?
Like as far as how has it helped them with calming mind and all of that?
Just like overall health.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you had mentioned before to the listeners, I also have a background in Reiki, and I did I often say my kind of gateway drug into the field of wellness was actually first through massage school. So I went into therapeutic massage training, and in my training, I met a lovely woman who became my Reiki master teacher. And so from the very start of my yoga teaching practice, because that came after, I was already incorporating what I had learned, these key concepts from energy work. And Reiki, in the most basic summary that I usually give people, is it's a relaxation technique. It's, of course, so much more than that, but it's so lovely to include this subtle body work with the practice of yoga. In particular, I incorporate that with yin yoga and with therapeutic restorative yoga when I teach. And I would say those two styles in particular really, really help aid students for those that are looking for the mental benefits in particular. Like if you have a really busy mind and you just want to learn how to focus, to relax, or if you're a really high stress and you want to learn just how to move through life without sweating the small stuff. Both yoga and Reiki are wonderful tools to work toward that. And especially, of course, in unison, it's just extra rich and yummy. So yeah, it's a great tool for everybody.
Awesome. And I saw on your website that you do retreats. So tell me more about the retreats and what do you do during that time and how long they usually run for.
So I personally, I guide one retreat a year. So I have one coming up in November. It's called Feast of Yes with my partner, Hannah Ruth Dyson. And it's really a retreat for people who work in wellness, because we get to encourage people every day to practice self-care. However, there's also this trend in the field of wellness that everybody's working so hard that we're often not taking time actually for ourselves, for self-care. So we have this really yummy 5-day experience set up over the Thanksgiving holiday. It's just 5 nights where wellness workers can come and really just relax. There's a lot of open space in the schedule to explore this beautiful area where I live in Costa Rica on the Caribbean side. There's also really yummy practices built in. And then in particular, yoga teachers and wellness workers that want to build in CECs or credits with Yoga Alliance, we have a business component that's additional hours. And we're going to help wellness workers to fine-tune their ability to weave together this idea of living a yogic lifestyle and also needing to walk in this business realm. It can be really it can feel really oil and water to a lot of people, and it doesn't have to be like that. So that's going to be the other component with that. But generally, what I mostly do is I live at and operate a retreat and training center in the town is called Puerto Viejo in Costa Rica. And we have guest facilitators that come from all over the world, and they bring their groups here. And so we cater to them. So I don't personally run a lot of retreats. I have teacher trainings, which is a different yoga teacher trainings, which is different. But we see facilitators from all over the place, and they come and they collaboratively with us put together their experience. So they tell us if they want to include kirtan or cacao ceremony. That's popular because cacao is from this area of Talamanca. It has a rich history here. Or if they want to include more adventure like hikes and waterfall tours and things like that. Or if they want it to be more deeply spiritual, time in silence. And we kind of help them put that together. So it's incredible. It's blissful. We have the honor of being able to host people in deep practice and deep transformation almost all year. And it's just incredible to be able to meet people all year in this study and in this lifestyle practice. It's really amazing. I feel so blessed.
Oh, wow. That sounds really amazing. Like I would so want to experience that at some point. I haven't gone to really many retreats or any at all. I've been to like a retreat place for like a day, but not like spending overnight or anything like that because of my crazy schedule. And it's like a lot of things got in the way and I just never made the time to do it.
This is exactly why my friend Hannah and I, what you just said is precisely what I hear from like 90% of my wellness worker friends, connections, and collaborators, it's like I put together the retreats, I put together the teacher trainings, or I put together the workshops and the classes, and I don't have time to attend them myself. It's so common. And at the same time, to be committed to this path rather, it's so important that we're filling our own cup, because it's to work in wellness is really a path of service. You know, we are giving so much of ourselves all the time. And what's nice about this field is that we're all in it for the passion. You know, it's about a way to live. And so we love it so much. So we want to share freely, and also that can deplete you very fast. So I hope you find time in your schedule sometime soon to attend, even if it's just a weekend retreat, just a couple nights to fill up your cup a little bit.
Yeah, I know. And I'm sure that you guys won't, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I'm just thinking in terms of like a digital detox, right? You stay away
Yes.
from like internet and everything, and just to be focusing on yourself and connect with others and just enjoy the environment and everything else around there.
Absolutely. So our site, it's called Om at Cashew Hill. And sorry, I'm at my home office right now, and there's a loud something driving by. You probably heard. So our project is to get people near to nature. We say that our housing is near to nature. Our whole experience is near to nature. It's not a sterilized 5-star experience. It's about actually getting in the jungle, because a lot of people like the idea of the tropics and the jungle and the beach, but they actually have a lot of trouble when it's too close, when it's too up close and personal. So I feel in my practices and study of yoga, I feel this is very reflective of how out of touch we're becoming with our internal nature. Is we get really kind of turned off by getting too close to external nature. So we have all the things. We have organic gardens growing everywhere, so people can actually see that spinach that you're eating in your salad at lunch. It's actually growing right there. You'll watch people harvest it. So we're getting people really back into a relationship with the food that they're consuming, with what it's like to see a bug or a spider or something that you may have deemed some shadow aspect, it's unacceptable, and actually just observe it and be okay and allow it to reside in its nature. And we also do encourage digital detox, which is very interesting, especially with my teacher training groups. When we all come together in orientation, I get a lot of really worried looks. It's like, I'm not going to be able to use my phone. And then by the end of the days together, most of them are like, I'm really going to incorporate this into my lifestyle when I return to my home, wherever that may be. I'm going to really try to be less on the phone, on the computer, because they start to see how rich it is for them to have time away from that and really be developing their relationship with nature. In the case of here, it's the beach and the jungle, but really any nature that you have around you wherever you live. It's super important.
So 2 points you mentioned. One is about being around nature more, because I've always been living in the city. I grew up in the city in China, in the mainland, Beijing, the capital, and then I'm now in New York City, or very close to New York City. I work in the city. So it's always like buildings, people, and it's like really difficult to be with nature. If I do go somewhere, I'm gonna have to like drive, an hour or so just to visit a place. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's like still have to take the time to get there, right? So it's like we're all absorbed into that city life, and it's really hard. Like we all need to be connected with nature, and that's really important.
Absolutely. And science now supports that. Science now says like we need to be in nature. Our mental health depends on it. And I also understand, for me to walk out my front door and be immersed in the jungle is very different than someone who is in the daily grind in Beijing or in New York and does have to make a lot more of an effort to actually make a road trip to get out and to get into nature. What's nice though is that I don't know about Beijing, but I know at least New York does have some parks available. So I would recommend to people too, you can start small. You can start small. It can really make an impact, something like having a house plant or houseplants to take care of. And I know it might sound kind of woo-woo, but to develop a relationship with too, something that you have there that you watch grow. And get into the parks for a stroll. If that's what's available in not just your schedule, but so many people. I mean, so many people live in the city, and this is the story for so many. So it doesn't have to be so dramatic as escaping or moving to the jungle. It can be smaller steps too.
Reminds me, Central Park is a place. It could just be a few hours just doing yoga outdoors. Yeah. And speaking of plants, because I've been living in an apartment, it's difficult. I haven't brought my vertical aeroponic garden system into the apartment yet, but it could be an indoor and outdoor gardening system that you can even have, even if you live in an apartment building with there's basically nowhere to grow these things, and you could still be able to do it in the house.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear this from a lot of friends of mine. I know a dear friend of mine, which I'll send you the link to her retreat site, because they actually do, she lived a long time in Brooklyn, and sometimes they do just weekend retreats upstate. So it's not too far away, and it's for getting back out into nature. So I'll have to send you her link too. And she was so excited because her building in Brooklyn, after years of living there, they opened up the rooftop space, and they had gardens. And it wasn't anything extravagant. It was pretty small, but she started doing her yoga practice out there, and it really just gave her a sense of connecting in a small way with nature. And I think too, even in the parks, just to literally get in the grass, walk barefoot. Now, this is so funny. Now there's a term for it. It's called earthing, which it used to just be called walking barefoot. But another one of these things that they say is actually really important to our health. And in a place like Costa Rica, walking barefoot is easy to do. It's accessible. It's very normal. You can't obviously walk around New York City with bare feet, just for health and sanitation reasons. And also, you're not actually going to touch true earth. You're going to touch pavement. But you could go to Central Park and get your body in the grass, wiggle your toes in the greenery. That's possible.
I have walked barefoot because I didn't know there was a term for it, but sometimes you wear uncomfortable shoes and you have to take off your shoes because they're so uncomfortable.
Yes. Especially in the city. And if you have a dress code, it's more like it would make no sense for me to wear heels here or anything closed-toed, because it just would be ridiculous on a bumpy, rocky jungle road for me to wear that. But this is also so common in urban settings where there's dress codes, or it's just cold and it's winter. And of course you're going to stuff your feet into boots. So yeah, I think getting barefoot, getting outside, having access to the fresh air, it's so important. And you can find little ways to build it in without it being so extreme. I do really believe that.
Right. And we can really be creative with that. I guess just any way to be connected more to nature and earth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see the site from the person that does the retreats in the city area or upstate, so that maybe I can do like a weekend getaway or something.
Yes. Her company is called Wander Freely. I don't know if she has anything in the near future scheduled for upstate New York. I know she's got some things scheduled this summer for Maine. Of course, that's like a little bit further away from you. However, if you are able to get time away, I highly recommend. I grew up in Maine, and it's definitely near to nature living there. So it's worth checking out. I'll send it over to you.
Awesome. I've been to Maine once. Love the place. I just haven't gotten a chance to go back there again.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the national park is there. It's and the coastline's just incredible. I'm very grateful that I grew up there, because in a weird way, I often say this to people, it really prepared me to live here, even though the nature is so different, but I just grew up outside. I was outside all the time. I was barefoot, except in the winter, of course, but we were running around in open fields on a rural farm in Maine. And it really prepared me to have nature so up close and personal and in your face in a place like the jungle, because there's no escaping it here. So it can be pretty intense.
That's awesome. What else? Let me think. I'm trying to think of some questions. Oh, you're using that jar because they said that like if you drink and if you use a glass jar, then you're less. It's like yogurt, for example. You're less likely to eat a lot because it's heavy, like psychologically.
Really?
You put things in a glass than plastic.
Huh. That's interesting. I never heard that before. I guess it makes sense, but I want to drink a lot of water. So maybe I should switch to a different vessel, because I should be drinking more. It's really hot here right now. You can probably see my sweaty glow that's going on. And I just finished yoga class also, but I guess we're in June officially today. But this time of year in the Caribbean is really, really hot. So I need to really push myself to take enough water in. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can you give us some examples of like specific techniques that you will use in your like yin yoga class, for example, or restorative yoga class, of how you could incorporate Reiki with yoga in those classes?
Absolutely. Yeah. So fusing these practices together is I have deep love for that as a practice, that interweaving of these different modalities. So yin is a style of yoga where generally hands off, aside from maybe assisting with a prop, like bringing more props or helping get it in if it's difficult somewhere. Generally hands-on assists in the traditional sense that we might think of in a vinyasa class, for example, would be contraindicated because people are really going to their edge, and we don't want to push them deeper in. We could actually injure them. And so Reiki is a really nice way to provide safe touch where and I will tell students, my intention of being hands-on touch in the class today is not to change anything in your shape, encourage you to move deeper, harm or injure. It's really just an opportunity for the student to have a receptive experience where they can start to cultivate a practice of receiving, because it's very difficult for a lot of people to really just go, okay, I am just going to take this yumminess, whatever it may be. So it's really nice as a way to get hands-on, to build rapport with the students, to build deeper connection. Of course, that's what yoga's all about, but also still in honoring and practicing ahimsa. So in yin, it would certainly not be nonviolent to be pushing or pressing with pressure to get someone deeper into a pose. So I really love yin for that Reiki for that style of yoga. Also restorative yoga, because restorative yoga is really kind of, I often call it like the yoga for the nervous system. Many people are drawn to restorative yoga because of nervous system issues and balance. Could be anxiety, could be depression, could be something like PTSD, other forms of manifested trauma, could be physical injury. So it's another style of yoga where, and then sometimes people just want to have a practice that's more restful. Maybe their lifestyle is very very yang, very fire, and they just need an hour a week to feel really held and supported and have a more gentle flow in their life. So again, touch for restorative yoga might not necessarily be always recommended. In some cases, it might be actually contraindicated, depending on the reason why someone landed there. So what I have found is that using Reiki as a form of touch, it's very light, it's very, it's completely non-invasive, it's very supportive, it's very loving, it's very gentle. Of course, with any type of touch, always, I recommend to definitely obtain consent, obtain permission, whether you have, like some people use flip chips or some people verbally ask permission. But Reiki's not intimidating. It's not scary. It's very soft. And as I mentioned before, it gives people the opportunity to practice receiving. And I'll see it sometimes when I go, even when I explain this in a practice, I'll go and put my hands on someone and I see them start to adjust. They change their shape, they move. And I'll remind them, you don't need to do anything differently. The only thing I'm inviting you to do is just sit here with me and receive what's being sent through. But it's tough. It's a practice, These still practices are really challenging for people. So I think Reiki adds in a little bit of sweetness for them to soften into. And I really recommend it. And I know you just interviewed someone else that incorporates Reiki together with their yoga. The two practices really go together super well. So I really recommend it. Any Reiki practitioners / yoga teachers out there that are interested in incorporating the two, but maybe not super sure about how to, I'm happy to, they'll have my contact at the end, and I'm happy to answer any questions about that too. It's lovely.
All right, great. Yay. That brings up a question. When you touch people in the practice, and of course, you're dealing with energy and everything, and how sometimes we're in tune with the energy and we're more intuitive, and we end up like attracting maybe not so positive energy, especially they're not very balanced. And if you get affected by their energy, how do you deal with balancing yourself out? Like, with yoga practice and everything, and that'll help, but is there any other ways that you'll just help yourself in terms of regulating yourself?
That's a wonderful question. That's such a great question. I don't know if you can hear it, but the monkeys are in my yard. If you can hear it on the mic, it kind of sounds like, I'm not sure. It's howler monkeys. I can't think of anything they sound like, but if you hear some howling going on in the background, the monkeys have come to visit me this morning.
That's so cute. I thought they were birds at the beginning.
This is what I was saying, there's no escaping nature here. I couldn't have my conference with the monkeys and say, I'm going to be on a call. If you could just be quiet this morning. They don't care. So, but yeah, this is a wonderful question about, essentially about protecting yourself, your own, what's sometimes called the eighth chakra or the aura, your own energy field, because so many people who are attracted to this line of work have a tendency to be empaths. I hear it all the time, especially from people who have done Reiki training with me. This is a big concern, or I hear about it as a follow-up. I try to maintain a relationship with my students after any training course, and I'll often hear follow-up like, I love Reiki, but I was working on this client who was complaining of severe knee pain.